Welcome back to the Dark Elves Abridged. Last time we finally finished working our way through the Itza armies and even took one of their territories. However, there was no light at the end of the tunnel because we then had to fight the other Lizardman faction and an incoming Elvish invasion, which was helped out by some Skaven plague that decimated our forces. By combining all of our strength, we were able to take down the Elvish invading army. However, two more armies appeared right after, and at the same time, a Lizardman army is now attacking our home territory. We rejoin things then in the siege defense. It starts off with me opening the gate to send a bunch of guys outside, and they're being annihilated by some crows right now. That was very effective from the enemy because my guys were all grouped together. That crow spell, which is an area of effect thing, did plenty of damage. Anyway, the plan is just the usual. We're going to send troops outside to try and block the enemy so our towers and crossbows can do some extra damage. We're helped out in this fight by the fact our front wall doesn't actually extend the full width of the map. So it's a smaller front to defend. Perfect for our not particularly strong melee contingent to try and hold. I've also got a few units Vanguard deployed at the back. I just gave them movement orders to run around back here. I thought we may be able to distract a lot of the enemy and make them turn back to fight us, but actually they got attacked quite quickly by the enemy's feral cold ones, who I thought might be slower than our cav, but it turns out not really to be the case. So anyway, most of the stuff will discharge right at the wall, and now we'll see what we can do. Things are already climbing up, but the majority of their stuff did get caught fighting our melee units for now. They've got a melee specialist and some skinks climbing up the wall over here. This reserve of witch elves should be enough to hold them off. I took the luxury in this replay of checking to see if my crossbows were actually doing anything. If you saw my Toulouse campaign, you know that's a particularly sensitive issue for me right now. And it turns out that again the answer is no, not really. Our men generally aren't firing or reloading. The line of sight you get on the wall is actually pretty poor, so they can't really do anything from up there as it turns out. I figured they were doing a lot more damage than they were, but that does not appear to be the case in retrospect, checking it in the replay. At least the Black Ark's doing some damage to these nice blobs of enemy units. We've got this blue thing here that only does damage to enemies and not to allies, so it's perfect for firing into melees. Looks like our Death Hag out there is trying to deal with the enemy commander. She's probably weaker, but at least the commander isn't ripping through our troops instead. Our commander is fighting with an enemy hero up on the wall. I think we have a disadvantage there, but I did send in the Witch Elves to help out with that one. There's another hero fighting our hand bows. You may note in this battle that unlike my usual strategy of putting all the melee troops outside, I have kept some of the melee units on the wall for occasions like this when the enemy do get up and we need to resist. I think that's the superior choice in retrospect, because even though you stop the enemy for less time outside of the walls, the towers tend to get captured less and your archers stay more alive. Overall it feels a bit better. The enemy have a nice blob just outside the gate, and you can see here I kind of lock them down with these harpies who can't do any damage, but it makes the enemy get stuck here and not move as we hit them again with the blue thing, which as mentioned won't be killing the harpies, but the harpies will still die in the melee. Meanwhile, those feral cold ones are gradually getting killed by these attacks, and the balance bar has improved over the course of the fight. It's now balanced, and we've still got more Black Ark abilities to throw out and more men to sacrifice as the towers gradually do their work, and that balance bar is gradually going into our favour now. We kill that hero up on the wall. Surprisingly, these Witch Elves actually struggled to fight the enemy's chameleon skink, so I thought just a kind of weak ranged unit that would just die against an elite melee unit. Not necessarily the case, maybe Witch Elves aren't as elite as I presume. But anyway, this battle is working out. We're getting to the point now when pretty much everything outside the wall is dead, but the enemy have lost so much stuff thanks to the delaying that actually we're fine. Here I am checking out the crossbows, not helping again. I noticed a lot of them seem to shoot at the ground now and again, and I thought, are they just having line of sight errors and they're shooting into the floor for no reason? But then, upon closer inspection, the arrows are going through the floor, so they actually can shoot things that are directly under the wall, as if there were murder holes or something there. It just doesn't really work in terms of the animations or what have you. And of course, most of them aren't doing it, that's the main point. Occasionally the crossbowmen attack, so it's not completely useless to garrison the walls with those guys. The enemy commander opened the gate by breaking through it, but I had some spearmen just behind the gate who took him down. Then I noticed the background. I remember when Warhammer 1 first came out, one of the big comments that I agreed with was that the backgrounds always look like much better maps than the battle maps. So it shows they can design interesting maps, but I'm guessing the pathfinding programming of testing or what have you was too complicated to have things like a volcano and a river of lava going through the map that could potentially have led to some more interesting fantasy battles. But anyway, the main point here is we did win this defense. We lost absolutely loads of full units, but that doesn't really matter at this stage. All that's important is that we haven't had our home territory breached by this enemy army, because all the other places are less defended than this one, so we had to stop them here ideally. And we've done it, so there you go, the campaign isn't over as a result and we can keep going. Still got a couple of elf stacks to deal with, of course. I sent our troops in that town to go out and finish off the survivors of the Lizardman army, killing one of their fat frog fellows, which I think might be an important thing to have done. And more importantly, it allows us to do this. We can pick up a peace treaty with the Lizardmen. So there we go, we're now not at war with either of the lizard factions. That's unlikely to last, but it means for a short time at least we can focus down the elves before they focus us down. So let's look at that situation. You may remember we defeated a stack from them last time and I wanted to retake the Awakening, but the Awakening is now garrisoned with another stack and there's another army coming down from the north, the right hand side of the screen from this perspective. Right here, I'm trying to set up the raid and ambush thing that worked so well against the Lizardmen. This will allow us to fight only one of the elf armies at a time, which will be absolutely essential for us getting away with this. A fair few people have asked me to recruit a fire sorceress. I actually did at one point, but she got assassinated, I think. And here's me thinking that I'm doing it again. You might note I actually didn't recruit a fire sorceress, but I was convinced that I did, because the icon that was lit up a bright orange made me think, oh, I've already got the fire thing selected, I'll just recruit the first thing I see then. But no, that was not the case, and yes, I am a very small child. But that aside, at least we've got a sorceress to do something. You can get the spell that summons manticores in battle with those beast sorceresses, which is occasionally useful, as has been used in this campaign. Anyway, our whole elf plan does not work because they saw the ambushing force, did an agent action against it, and then attacked with both of their armies at once, and there's the balance bar we get with this matchup, so it seems we probably don't want to do this. Now we have to gamble on retreats. They can immediately turn round after that first retreat and attack Lockyer, so now we've both retreated. We have to hope they can't both follow and attack our single armies, or one of the single armies. As it happens, they either can't or don't. One army goes back to the town, the other army just stands there. So actually that reverses this situation all of a sudden, and now we're in business. Now our two armies can attack just one of theirs, and this is a balanced matchup, so it seems we have a chance. Still not the best chance, not an advantage per se, but it's not getting any better than this right now, so let's take them on. As this replay starts, the first thing that surprised me was, wait a minute, this isn't the battlefield we fought on before, is it? It looks very different. I'll show you here what it looks like in the live footage. It is the same battlefield, of course, it's just that in the replays it changes the weather and times of day. So it looked differently for me while playing, and it actually looks much better in the replay, which is quite nice. You can actually see what's going on. Anyway, as for what is going on, I formed up my two armies next to each other, but the enemy are mainly focusing on my first army. They're being pretty bad at things though. They send in one unit on its own to attack us at first. All of our crossbows and our bolt throwers are able to repulse those cav and take them out, so that's a good start. We won't be able to take out this hero because he's too tanky, and their flyers have now gone over the top of our army and have landed amongst the shades, so that's going to stop them firing. We do have a second row of dark shards behind them though, who should shoot at the birds and perhaps will help take them down. With the second army under Lockyer, I moved it up so that our shade line will be in range of the edge of the elf army, and this is perfect for me in terms of my micro, because now I can just kind of leave that second army sitting there, and it's probably going to be damaging the enemy even if I focus what I'm doing on looking into the forest and what the first army's up to. Looks like a few eagles are disrupting things there, but not enough to stop us. Got a really good attack with one of the black arc things right there. I've got the fully upgraded cauldron attack, and it's got to the point when it can almost just delete a unit if it actually hits. We take out some of their special archers right there. And the first army is doing fine as well at this point. We get the victories in our grasp thing because we are straight up winning on the balance bar. The enemy are getting annihilated in this fight, our position remains relatively unmolested, aside from the phoenixes and stuff, but they're not going to last very long in there against all of our archers. They also took out the enemy's bolt throwers using some chariots who ran around the back of the map. Now we just sit here and wait for the enemy to die. This is the gratuity moment of the campaign and the best moment of the campaign. We can sit back and allow our massed archers to gun the elves down without much effort from me and with a lot of dramatic and poetic justice, like right here, as these fancy pants, shiny bows, Avalon archers get annihilated by us grubby dark elves with our cheeky crossbows shooting out of the woods. That is what we love to see, and this has been a very successful battle as a result. Towards the end, their commander tries to leave, but he gets absolutely annihilated by Lockyer, who is of course powered up by the Sword of Khaine, making him really good against single opponents. I'm trying to use the archers to bring down this phoenix, but it's going to escape just about. We did though manage to get their hero on a chariot, who also tried to run towards the end and ran through Lockyer, so he jumps on him, explodes the chariot. That's all good. Here's the result. It was a straight up good battle. We got a load of money, we destroyed a load of the enemy army, and we didn't lose units on our side, so that's absolutely perfect. Now the enemy army wasn't completely destroyed, and some survivors retreat back towards the town. They're now in reinforcement range of their ally stack, and the town garrison, which was a big one as I recall. However, this is the perfect time to use Lightning Strike on Lockyer. We can come over and do Lightning Strike to fight just the scraps from that previous battle, and with that, all of those phoenixes won't get a chance to replenish and come back to haunt us later. Very good stuff. I'm now stuck in the town zone of control. I need to besiege it and run away to get out, which I do, and then I even have enough points to have our other army be close to Lockyer. That means if the other enemy stack wants to come out and fight, we'll still have all of our forces together, and given the result of the previous battle, I'm now actually feeling pretty good about such a prospect. After an uneventful end turn sequence, we get the chance to get rid of the Sword of Khaine again, but we're going to want to keep it because it's pretty good, and I don't mind the public order debuff. Like last time, I think there is now a secret, not particularly well advertised period where you actually don't have the sword, indicated by that one there, that tiny thing on the UI. So while it kind of says I have it, I actually don't have either the new or old Sword of Khaine while the switch is being made, meaning I'm slightly weaker this turn, but still we've got stuff to do. I'm setting up to try and get that Lothern army to come out with the raid and ambush strategy. I've also got an Elven rebel army at the Star Tower to deal with. It's the Order of Lawmasters back at it again. So I can use the army that defended against the Lizard Men to come over and help. Now I've added some more units to that army, it's more like a full stack. After the end turn sequence, we can see that Lothern did not take the bait, and it seems to be that their heroes that are sitting around my armies keep seeing my ambush, so it's not really working. We don't have 100% chance for an ambush to succeed on Lockyer, but it is like 90 something percent. No idea if the agents using skills in some way reduces that number. Anyway, as for the rebels, well, there's not much to it. I just ran at them, auto-resolved them. We did lose a bunch of units, but nothing we can't re-recruit in one turn, and the replenishment we get in our own territory is huge. You can see here we have like 50% replenishment sitting near the Star Tower, so losses are irrelevant. Now this force will start making its way back up towards our front line to help out, as will the Black Arcs that are hanging around. But really, I need Lothern to put their foot in it for me to advance, and fortunately this turn they do. They move out and get ambushed by Lockyer, and this time the balance bar's really good compared to the last 2-on-1 fight we saw, so we just auto-resolve them, no units lost. We are in business right now, just the garrison of the town to overcome. That garrison is still pretty big, so we don't want to attack too lightly. They actually still have a balance bar advantage, even against both of our stacks because of the siege defense buffiness the balance bar gets. I could attack now and probably do it with a manual resolve. However, we have that third army nearby, so I thought we might as well wait until next turn, which is where we are now, and bring them over. So now we have 3 armies. It doesn't improve the balance bar that much, but now it looks like it's probably in our favour, unless it's the worst case scenario of that uncertainty level. I'm sure if I'd finished a siege tower, it would look a lot better. I actually almost fought this one, but after a long wait I was like, surely this is an auto-resolve, surely you're not going to make me do a 3-stack attack on the town. And actually it was fine with the auto-resolve, no units lost, we'll get everything back soon enough, and the awakening has been taken, so finally we made some quote-unquote progress against the elves. That is to say, we have reversed a small amount of the back progress we've made against the elves so far in this campaign. At last the awakening is ours again. With that done, we still have movement points to use, and I can send Lockyer towards Pox Marsh. The hope is that actually this time we may be able to have enough of a delay between that and the next Elven invasion that we can get a max level garrison building there or something and actually have a place we can defend to keep the elves out. So we start moving towards that, but things will change in a second. I was checking out the objectives, by the way. We're 4 settlement captures away from the next chapter. I still somehow haven't done build 3 Dark Elf landings. That's the level 1 port building. It seems like it doesn't count ones you already have, so while I actually have not only 3 level 1 Dark Elf landings, but more than that if you count the leveled up versions I also have, it still hasn't given me the bonus objective, so I don't really know what's up with that. It might not be possible to do because there are only so many places that have ports you can potentially build them in. Anyway, going into the next turn, Pox Marsh is actually taken by the Skaven. Looks like there was a Skaven rebellion or something going on, and it's gone down. This is the Skaven clan that did it. They actually really like us. We currently have a non-aggression pact with them. Probably just picked this up ages ago, not knowing who these guys were. And right now I'm like, right, let's end the non-aggression pact, because very soon we might need to go to war with them to take that bit of territory and secure the province. They're probably not very strong based on what we can see, so that would be a refreshing change from fighting the elves. They also have that ruin off to the west, which I did see before get captured by some Skaven rebels. However, things can't possibly be going so well. We need this to happen. The lizardmen go to war with us again, and while all of our armies are right up there at the top of our territory, nice and far away from all the places the lizardmen are next to. So that's good, isn't it? Looks like our little period of reversing back progress is over. Now we're going back. We need to send our troops south again. On the way, we spot this Cult of Sotek army that's suspiciously walking into our territory. We do have a peace treaty with them, but perhaps that's just not going to hold. I noticed the elves have taken back that Skaven place off to the west, so I thought what I'll do is I'll send Lockyer to go over there and attack that probably not very defended location just to annoy the elves. And the other 2 stacks will go south. We'll ignore the Skaven at Pox Marsh and hope they form a buffer between us and new elf invasions and try to deal with the lizardmen again. Lockyer moves into elvish territory to pick up some nice raiding opportunities and spots some targets for us. We've got an elf army here that looks like it's taken some damage, perhaps against the Skaven, and definitely to attrition, which is currently happening to them right now. There is also a lizardman army behind them a little bit further away, and after I shuffle Lockyer forwards a bit more, we spot a second lizardman army up here. So it seems my rush to go south in response to this new war might be misguided. Are they going to come down at us from the top? Well, I wanted to have at least something down south, because even if they don't attack us, we can attack them along the southern edge of the map and maybe steal a territory. But I do also spot this as I move. We've got an army coming in towards the middle of our territory by the looks of things. Also, that Cult of Sotek army has moved a bit further into our territory. Still no declaration of war, but obviously highly suspicious. Decided to garrison the Blood Swamps here, although you can kind of tell by the direction the enemy army is facing, they weren't trying to go for that place. They're actually going towards the Awakening, as we'll see in a second. The Lothern army goes out of line of sight. The Sotek army goes towards the Awakening, as mentioned 1 second ago, but the Itza turn is what we really need to pay attention to. Their army up north is wandering around, one of their armies I should say, taking a very inefficient route, perhaps to try and fight the abominations up there. Luckily it's not coming right for us. The army in the middle looks like it is going to come for us based on its change of direction there. And then this small army to the south goes into our territory, not big enough to do anything, but they could raid, which potentially could be annoying. Not really sure what the plan with those guys is. Anyway, the elvish colony up here is totally left alone, so I came in here thinking we'll just quickly auto-resolve that. Actually got a surprisingly bad auto-resolve off that fight given our advantage. But perhaps that doesn't matter, we can grab some replenishment right here. The options aren't very good. Ideally it would be a raise actually, but that would mean I can't move this turn, and I was up for moving away from the town, so I just went for the sack to get a little bit of cash and replenishment, and now I'll move away again and see how the enemy react. So yes, we didn't ruin the place as much as I thought we could, or really gain anything, although we did gain some experience for winning a battle, I suppose. With this middling Lizardman invasion, I decided to set up an ambush on the road because there's a very direct path for them to take, so a decent chance they'll walk past that ambush zone. With the Sutek army, I was wondering whether the Awakening could hold if they suddenly betrayed me and attacked it without me moving my other army to support. Wasn't really sure, I thought actually probably not, but I also didn't want to declare war on them and start something because there's still that chance that they'll go away. It would be much easier if we weren't also fighting them, so I left them to it after moving my forces a bit closer. The Lothern army goes back into their little colony there. That's actually quite good for us because now that they're in the town, we can attack that not particularly strong looking army, and if they lose they'll be deleted because it will technically be a siege defense. The Cult of Sutek force starts moving back. Well, I guess that's what I wanted, so if they keep doing that, that will all be fine. And a few of their troops are moving north as well, potentially towards Lockyer if they are planning to betray us. The two Lizardmen stacks up north aren't doing anything, but this Gok Rock army coming in down the middle does go into the ambush zone. This actually isn't an ideal fight, because we've got our beginning of the game tier army right here. It's not actually very good. Meaning even though the enemy don't even have a full stack, they certainly have potentially an advantage on the balance bar, unless that's the best case scenario that's true. So we'll find out what happens with this battle at the start of the next part.